Senator Sabi Abdullahi, a member of the National Assembly who is from Niger State, a member of the APC, one of the states that is experiencing the kind of insecurity that Mr. Bukati is talking about. It might be able to give us some insight. Thank you so much, Senator Abdullahi, for coming on the program tonight.
Thank you very much.
Some of these insecurity issues that our nation is facing, we have a new president in place, and it does look like Nigerians are yearning for a new approach, a new attitude. From your point of view as a lawmaker, what are the things that you would like to point the attention of the president to?
Well, thank you very much for having me. I think the issues are definitely yearning for attention. But I think we should give it to Mr. President because he has been very unambiguous about it. From his inaugural speech and subsequent engagement, he has shown in no mistaken time that he means business and that he wants Nigerians to have the good life. I think he was very clear about that. And he has met with the service chiefs. I'm sure he has debriefed them in terms of his own thinking and perspective. And let me say very clearly that from the reports, even after that meeting, I remember the Chief of Defense Staff saying that, yes, he has given them his own directives, and they are going back to recalibrate and rejig whatever it is that they have been doing. And I think that is what Nigerians are expecting. I know the issues have been with us and people are worried, but I think we need to tarry a while. We need to be a bit patient, because if you want to get it right, there must be some elements of planning, there must be some elements of analysis, and I think to get everything right is a key indicator of the success that we'll be expecting from our security operatives. So I would not want a situation where we show element of impatience. Yes, we are right in doing that because this is a problem that has been with us. But I'm very much convinced the approach Mr. President has taken so far definitely is going to be business unusual. It's not going to be business as usual.
For every Nigerian that is watching tonight, they're passionate about their country. They want a good life. They want a better country. And no matter where anyone voted the last time, at least the case, the issues are in court. But for now, let's see whoever is in the saddle, what he can do for the interests of Nigerians. Because in Niger State, in some peripheral of Kwara State, in Zamfara, in Kaduna State, in Plateau State, there are unrest. There are these elements that are causing trouble here and there across the country. Now, there is going to be an immediate and urgent attention. There are new governors in this state. Niger State has a new governor. Zamfara has a new governor. Kaduna has a new governor. Plateau has a new governor. And these are states that have experienced these extremist tendencies in the past. But Nigerians will be looking forward to urgent and apt attention and approach to this. But before we go on that break, just in 30 seconds, if you might tell Nigerians, in terms of the effort of the National Assembly and your own experience on the ground, because part of your district, your senatorial district, is being affected by this, what would you say is the major problem?
Well, for me, I have said it in many, platforms. Even on your platform, I think we've had cause to discuss about the governance issue. And I make it bold to say that Nigeria is replete with ungovernable spaces. And these ungovernable spaces came about because we killed virtually all the local government system. And if you look at the way the local governments were brought to the people, they are the closest to the people. The local government chairman is the security officer, and of course he works together with the traditional institution, and together they become the first layer of intelligence gathering. And of course, with the other security operatives at the local government level, they are able to synthesize and bring out whatever actionable intelligence for action by their superiors. That is no longer happening because many of the local governments are no longer functional. So to my mind, we've overlooked this. Unfortunately, in the last, in the Night Senate, when we attempted to do the alteration to the Constitution, that failed. Many people, yes,
at the state level.
Yes, at the state levels. Yeah. Many people don't see the nexus and the connection. Because you see, the local governments are supposed to be development domains. And we have 774 local government areas. If you take each one of them as a development domain, empower them, empanel them, ensure that actions are taking place at that level, definitely the issue of this insecurity can be tamed, because most of the people who are involved are young boys who are unemployed.
All right. Give us an understanding of the expectations. Is huge on the president. He just spent 3 weeks, and the kind of activities and the approach that he's given into a lot of these issues. How do you think that Nigerians should? Because on one hand, is the honeymoon period, which comes with its buzz and the activities, and when that douses, you know, we get back to normalcy. And there are those who believe, oh, just calm down. I mean, just the early days. The expectations are high. And if the president is aware of this, how does he maintain the momentum to keep that hope alive?
Well, I think one thing we need to appreciate is the fact that we have a president who is prepared for this duty. He has said it in several fora. And of course, his antecedents clearly is a manifestation of the fact that this is somebody who is prepared for this job. Now, because of that, he has also shown capacity to pick people who can deliver on what he wants.
Has he shown that in this special advisor position, the 8 of them?
Absolutely. He has shown that. And you see, when you say advisor, are you going to bring somebody who does not know you and who you do not know to advise you? No. You bring people that you have confidence in, people who you know have the capacity. And I think the record of the 8 gentlemen and women that have been appointed so far is incontrovertible. All of them have a very solid, resume. And so, to my mind, this is vintage, President Tinubu, as everybody has come to see him from what he has done in Lagos and all his antecedents to this date. So I think what I just want to say here is that, yes, the expectations are high, but, if we keep doing the same thing over and over again, what are we going to get? We're going to get the same result. And Mr. President is saying he wants to do things differently because he wants to deliver. And in doing things differently, then we need to be patient with him. For me, as far as I'm concerned, the idea of maybe this is just honeymoon is not correct. This is a man who means business. He has shown that he means business. And every activity he has been doing so far is definitely targeted at getting the kind of performance we want Nigerians to see. So I have no doubt in my mind that, and he's a man who is also following due process.
Let me take you to the National Assembly politics, which, to my mind, relationships have been fractured. There are a lot of people who have been aggrieved, and those who feel very slighted, or those who feel they have been shortchanged or marginalized or sidelined. What do you think that should be done immediately to be able to bring people back into the fold? Because politics is at the center of governance, so it needs to be done right. And for the effective representation to happen in the National Assembly, there needs to be unity of purpose.
Well, I think the first thing is that members of the National Assembly are members of the National Assembly of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And I think the Senate President, the new Senate President said, he said, of course, we came under different parties, but when you step into the chamber, you are stepping into the chamber as the Senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, who is out to come and do what the Constitution has cut out for him. And what the Constitution has cut out for the members of the National Assembly is clear: lawmaking, oversight, and representation. And I think within that context, they are to make law for the good governance and peace of the nation. So I don't think there is any doubt as to what they're supposed to do. In terms of course, what happened with respect to the leadership, this is usual. It is politics, like you said. In all political process or journey, some will win, some will lose. But at the end of the day, if truly what you intend to do by contesting is to serve the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the fact that you did not get it should not stop you from serving the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So my charge to our colleagues who are in the 10th Assembly is for them to close ranks and work together to ensure that Nigeria is served first.
Because, I mean, you understand how the National Assembly plays, and I know that in all of the politicking, people would have been promised committee positions.
I believe all of that will take care of itself naturally.
I mean,
and whatever it is, what is important is that each and every one of them is first among equal. Every one of them is equal. You are there to represent your senatorial district or constituency. So that right cannot be taken away from you. And the leaders of the two chambers, I'm sure, are not novices. They know exactly how to bring back all their members so that they can work for the common purpose.
Doesn't the leadership of the party need to be playing a role in the reconciliation? Because after the intense horse trading and the intense competition for the contesting in that leadership election, there should be some kind of intervention. Shouldn't the national leadership of the APC be intervening in this now?
Well, I think they can do that, and it will be a good one if they do. But what I think will happen is the fact that the senators themselves and the members of the House themselves will take care of themselves, because they have to sit down together. And so far from the messages coming out from both sides, both the Senate President who has won and the competitor, that is Senator Yari, I think it shows that they are...
Senator Yari has said that he felt betrayed.
Yes, of course.
Betrayer.
Saying so does not mean that he's not going to work for Nigeria. But he's just saying his mind. And that he has said so shows that he's ready to move on. Because if he has not said so, it means he's bottling it up. So I think we must commend him for saying what he has said. But of course, like he has said, he's a Muslim. So he should forgive whoever he felt has betrayed him and move on. Because he has a lot of work to do to serve the people of Zamfara State that have elected into National Assembly. That's what needs to be done.
I mean, if you were Senator Godswill Akpabio, for example, what would you be doing?
Of course, I will be extending my hands of, fellowship to all my colleagues to come together so that we work together, because I'm just first among equal. And I will ensure that I'm fair, I'm equitable at all times in everything I do, making sure that the Senate, as the highest chamber of the legislature, remains very, very, very strong, united and committed to the ideals of the Nigerian project. And of course, given the fact that he's been supported by Mr. President, it is incumbent upon him to ensure that he mobilizes the entire senators to support the programs and projects of the Renew Hope of Mr. President.
Senator Abdullahi, from this Senate that you worked in, the 9th Senate, there is a not so good reputation and perception of the National Assembly from a lot of Nigerian people.
Wow.
Who believe that lawmakers are there to satisfy their own interest, and they're just enjoying the largesse that come from the office. And the fact that, I mean, the popular one is the accusation of a rubber stamp National Assembly. That was what the 9th Assembly represented. That is a very popular tag on the National Assembly. I mean, the expectations of Nigerians, just a moment, the expectations of Nigerians are high, yes. But again, those who have been elected, how difficult is it to satisfy the yearnings of people, to correct that notion? If truly they are serving the people of Nigeria, shouldn't they be bothered about how they are perceived?
Well, you see, perception is an individual issue. If somebody sits somewhere and have a wrong perception about me, and I try to clarify myself, he's not listening, I don't have to bother about that. I have to keep doing what I believe I'm doing that is right. My conscience comes first. So for me, I was the spokesman of the 8th Senate, and in this 9th Senate, I was privileged to be the Deputy Chief Whip. So, and I know, as a matter of fact, all these things you said about rubber stamp, rubber stamp, rubber stamp. What is the meaning of rubber stamp? Something comes in that we just take it and rubber stamp it. It's not correct, because every communication to the National Assembly must go through the legislative process. And I want to tell you that if it is a bill, that bill will never go back the way it came. So even the definition of rubber stamp does not fit in here. But it's like it has become a cliche that people are just happy to call us. And as far as I'm concerned, if I'm as part of the Ninth Senate, we have worked very hard. We worked on so many of our legislative agenda. And at the last evaluation, we came up with our legacy report of the Ninth Senate. It's a document. And we have all the things we have done in that document. And as far as I'm concerned, when you want to evaluate somebody, you must take a cue from somewhere. The baseline for evaluation was that when Ahmed Lawal was contesting, you remember we told you there was a legislative agenda. And that legislative agenda was finally adopted and improved upon with some amendments and adopted as a legislative agenda of the Ninth Senate. Now, we use that as the base to evaluate our performance in that legacy report. And it's there. The National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies also did a report where they were looking at expectation of Nigerians on the Ninth Assembly. We also asked them to juxtapose that to see how much of these expectations have we met. And I will tell you, many of the things that we said we're going to do, if not virtually all, we have done them.
Self-evaluation.
It's not a question of self-evaluation.
No, so if there is a perception...
That's what I'm giving you now. Just if you want, you can ask for that document, and then you can do your own perception or evaluation.
I mean, this is for the consumption of the Nigerian public. Yeah. Now, self-evaluation and assessment of the performance of the Ninth Assembly, but in the real sense, if there is a wrong perception about you, I assume that by conduct or by your action, you should be able to make an effort in correcting it. But there are instances why a lot of Nigerians may hold the belief that the Ninth National Assembly was simply a rubber stamp. For example, and this is a very popular opinion, and there are those lawmakers who are of the opinion that maybe the National Assembly in the Ninth National Assembly was not very circumspective about the ways and means and the manner in which things went. They have agreed that there were mistakes in that process. And don't you think so?
I think you need to look at it. This was something that has been there from 2016. 2016, that was the 8th Senate. So the question is, you know, there is something we need to understand. If you have a problem, it's either you find a solution to that problem or you leave it and it worsens. For us, we were caught in a situation where we felt whatever it is that has happened, we must put a stop to it. Because ordinarily, every year these things ought to be brought to us. And if it was not brought to us, and it was now brought in, are we now going to say, okay, because somebody has made a mistake, then we also have to make the mistake of not looking at it? So we looked at all of these things, and we felt...
You accepted it?
We felt...
And you stamped it?
It's not a question of we stamped it.
And that's where one of the issues of being a rubber stamp...
You see, it's wrong for you to use these kind of examples and call it rubber stamping. That is not rubber stamping, because these issues were discussed. And I will tell you that finally, we also made provisions and made recommendations that turned out to be our resolution on what should happen. And I will suggest that this 10th Assembly must look at those recommendations we have made to ensure that we do not have a repeat of the mistakes that happened yesterday. You see, there is no system that is perfect. And if a system has operated and you have seen an error and you have corrected it, what do? You put in remedial measures. And I will tell you, we did that in the concluding part of our assembly. And we came up with resolutions very clearly stated and recommended things that must be looked at to ensure that we do not have a repeat of this kind of situation again. So I think, to me, we have done our best, given the circumstance we find ourselves. And that is not the only thing we have done. There are many other things we have done in terms of the lawmaking responsibility, in terms of even the, what do they call it, oversight duty of many of our committees, in terms of our representation. Many of our members come in with issues bordering on their communities. That is why we are their representatives. And I, for one, I remember vividly, you talked about insecurity in the earlier parts of your program. That was one of the major challenges in one of my local governments, like you rightly pointed out. And I remember I came up with motions, not once, not twice, not thrice, in the local governments that were affected. And actions were taken.
Senator, because of the time, I mean, I would have loved to go into several areas: aviation, debt servicing,
and even in aviation, you can see the committee. The committee on aviation had a sitting even in the last week and came up with issues, and it is that issue that this next assembly is now going to build upon. So that's the best we can do.
Your best may not be enough. I mean, for a lot of Nigerians who expended their votes and their taxes,
but that is
sustain the national
that is true for everybody
in everything we do. Pockets of you and your colleagues.
But Shehu, that is true in everything we do as human beings.
Yeah, but then
and we keep trying.
I'm not sure your rating in the National Assembly was a very good one.
No, that is your own. I don't. If Nigerians are going to rate us,
you need to get to the field.
No, you can't tell me. I represented the people.
No, you represented just a senatorial district.
I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one.
So the question is that the National Assembly need to do a polling on the Nigerian people to know how Nigerian people are rated. But I have a last question for you, and it's about the Nasarawa House of Assembly. Now, the government, the state government, had gone to court to get an ex-parte order to stop the Agazi side from parading himself as the speaker. Which of you? Because I know there is an amendment to this regard.
Well, I think based on what I've heard, there are two factions.
Two groups here.
One faction had, is it 14 people?
13.
13. The other one has 10. 11. Is it 11? Because they have a 24-member house. As far as I'm concerned, within the ambit of the new alteration of the Constitution, which was signed even before the coming into force of these assemblies, honestly, the first session and the inauguration must be by 2/3 of members sitting and present. And as far as this number shows, if 24 members at the national, at the state assembly in National State, 14 is not up to 2/3. 11 is not up to 2/3. So if it is by the provision of this new provision of the Constitution, honestly, the two are illegal.
So how do you hope, or how do you think that it can resolve this?
Well, I think for me, I really sympathize with the governor of National State. He's quite a perfect gentleman. I don't know how these issues came about, but my advice is that he should get, proper advice and counsel, so that let them look at what the new alteration says. Because if they are not aware, then they should get to be aware. Because otherwise...
Then you get to find out in the court.
Well, otherwise, definitely, if anybody who has vested interest in these members of the state, National State, houses of, citizens of that state, if they take this matter up, they will be embarrassed, because the Constitution has made a clear provision, and that thing has been signed. It's one of the things signed. So I don't think it's...
What was the intendment? What was
the intendment? You see, if you remember the case of Edo State, of which I remember I was the chairman that was asked to go into intervention. Yes. What happened was a bad precedent. And we felt a situation where the quorum was made to look so easy. And in doing so, you take away the majority and use minority to achieve what you want. Is not the intent. So I think to cure that...
Edo State was
there were many other cases. There were many other cases.
There's a Ladoja case.
Yes, there was also Bauchi.
In Kogi State.
Bauchi State House. So to cure all of these malice...
There are several states, not less than 4 or 5 states.
So that was why we made that.
State assembly.
It was all approved, and it met the threshold, and it was assented to by President Muhammadu Buhari before he left office.
Senator Sabi Abdullahi, a lawmaker in the 9th National Assembly, represented Niger State, a member of the APC. Thank you so much indeed for your time. It's good to see you again.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.